Life is often marked by uncertainties, challenges that test our patience, and moments that make us question, how do I face all of this? Perhaps you've found yourself searching for an answer, a way out, something that brings peace and clarity amid chaos. And it is precisely here that the power of faith in God makes a difference. Believe me, what you are about to discover goes far beyond mere relief. It is an invitation to real and lasting transformation. Imagine a faith that not only gives you strength, but renews your way of living, fills the emptiness, and gives you purpose. Faith in God is that key that opens doors fear insists on keeping shut. But beware, this journey is not about passively accepting everything, but about experiencing a force that transforms from the inside out. A faith that gives meaning to challenges and shows how each situation can be a stepping stone to something greater. Do you want to know how this faith can act in your life? How it can transform what seems unsolvable today into a future full of hope and security? Then stay with me, because you are one step away from discovering what the power of faith in God can truly do. Everyone goes through moments where they question, what is my purpose here? Why does everything seem so hard? Life, with its twists and surprises, often pushes us into this unending search for something that makes sense of it all, a peace that goes beyond what the eyes can see. People try to fill this void in various ways, with work, relationships, even material possessions. But the feeling of true purpose, that which calms the heart amid chaos, continues to elude. And isn't it curious? This purpose isn't found in something we can see or touch. It is born from an inner peace that defies any human logic. In truth, the search for purpose is often a journey of self-discovery and surrender, and can be likened to a traveler crossing the desert in search of an oasis. In times of challenge, the need for something greater and eternal becomes urgent. On this journey, those who find a purpose beyond circumstances also find a peace that doesn't waver when the world around them seems to be falling apart. A biblical example of this is King David, who, even when pursued and threatened, found strength and peace in God's promises. He knew his purpose was beyond his earthly battles, and perhaps that's why his words in Psalm 23 remain so relevant today. And when we speak of peace that overcomes difficulties, we can't help but think about how this search for purpose connects with faith. Faith that doesn't just believe, but trusts, surrenders, and allows itself to rest in the certainty that there is something greater guiding each step. Perhaps it's this faith that is the next step in this journey, because while the world says to chase, faith teaches to pause, reflect, and trust. Maybe it's time to discover what it really means to live this faith, transformative and profound, that we've heard so much about. Faith in God, when genuine, is capable of changing the way we see the world and situations around us. It's like swapping a blurry lens for a clear one that reveals details previously unseen. Many see problems and obstacles as insurmountable walls. However, faith transforms these walls into steps, each serving as a boost to climb higher. Imagine a farmer who sees his field devastated by drought. Faith helps him see beyond the dryness to envision the possibility of rain and harvest, even when appearances say otherwise. In doing so, he cultivates hope and perseveres. This new perspective doesn't mean life becomes a bed of roses. On the contrary, it means a person starts facing difficulties differently, with resilience and courage. After all, faith generates transformation, not so much in the circumstances, but in the heart of the one who believes. As the Apostle Paul wrote, faith renews the mind, transforming the way of thinking. For him, who faced prisons, shipwrecks, and persecution, faith was more than a belief. It was the force that drove him forward, to see hope where few would. And so, faith shapes our vision, allowing us to see difficulties through a lens of learning and purpose. Adversities stop being heavy chains and become tools for growth, a perspective that few can develop alone. Maybe you've experienced this change at some point, or are ready to discover how faith can transform your own journey. Perhaps it's time to better understand this power that goes beyond words and transforms everything around us, especially in difficult times. In moments when life seems darkest, faith reveals itself as a beacon, illuminating the way and offering a strength that surprises even the toughest of hearts. It's in these moments that faith shows how much it can sustain someone, even when everything seems lost. Think of Hebrews 11, where faith is described as the certainty of what we hope for and the evidence of what we don't see. This kind of faith allows someone to move forward, even without knowing what lies ahead, like someone crossing a dark tunnel with the certainty that there is light on the other side. For many, faith is that calm voice that says, "Keep going," when fear and doubt try to steal the scene. Imagine someone facing a serious diagnosis. Science might say one thing, but faith makes them fight, seek treatment, and find strengths they perhaps wouldn't have otherwise. And it's not just about winning or physically healing, but about discovering an inner strength that lifts them above fear. This power of faith, silent and constant, is what gives courage to face storms, even when they are intense. And so, faith not only illuminates but also strengthens, creating resilience that withstands any pressure. This faith is like an unbreakable rock that, instead of yielding to storms, offers shelter. It's the same faith that Moses had as he crossed the Red Sea with the people of Israel, even with Pharaoh's army on their heels. Perhaps it's this light and strength you are searching for, a faith that not only points the way but holds you steady. Because after all, when everything shakes, this is the faith that keeps us standing. Faith is much more than a simple belief. It is the foundation upon which all spiritual life is built. Without it, the spiritual journey becomes fragile, easily shaken by the difficulties of everyday life. Faith acts as an anchor, grounding each decision, each thought, and each action in something that goes beyond passing circumstances. Those who build their lives on this foundation understand that faith is not just a refuge in times of crisis, but a constant guide. It's like having a compass that always points in the right direction, even when the view seems blurry. This essence is reflected in the way someone lives, as faith shapes how they see the world and those around them. Imagine a person who, because of faith, develops patience they wouldn't naturally have, or finds strength to forgive when it seems impossible. That is the power of faith. It works from the inside out, transforming the heart and impacting every area of life. When Paul speaks of walking by faith, not by sight, 2 Corinthians 5:7, he reveals that faith is not just an act of believing, but of living according to that belief, allowing it to guide and transform. And as the basis of spiritual life, faith also brings security and peace. For those who trust this foundation, know that their identity and purpose are secure. It's like building a house on solid ground where the wind may blow, but it stands firm. This foundation prepares one to face life's challenges with confidence. Perhaps this journey of faith is also an invitation to recognize the depth and security that only a solid foundation can offer, and the peace that comes from knowing you are not alone in the journey. Faith has a special way of changing perspective on life's challenges, turning them into opportunities for growth and learning. While many see problems as immutable obstacles, faith sees them as tools for character building and for strengthening trust in God. It's like an athlete who sees training pain not as something to avoid, but as a chance to gain more strength and endurance. Similarly, those who have faith view life's challenges as springboards that propel them towards something greater and better. In various biblical passages, we see examples of people who faced adversity and, with faith, transformed these difficult moments into testimonies of overcoming. Joseph, for instance, was sold as a slave, unjustly imprisoned and humiliated, yet he kept his faith unwavering. In the end, God used these trials to elevate him to a position of honor and leadership, where he could save his family and people. For those who live by faith, each obstacle becomes an opportunity to see God's hand at work, to witness the power that transforms unlikely scenarios. Thus, Challenges become fertile ground for cultivating faith, allowing it to grow and strengthen. It is in this arid soil of difficulties that the roots of faith deepen, finding waters beyond sight. Perhaps this is the key to understanding that trials are often not meant to stop us, but to prepare us. Perhaps, when facing the next challenge, it is time to face it with a new vision, seeking to discover what it can teach and where it can lead, revealing a new purpose in the journey of faith. Surrendering to God is like letting go of the weight of worries and allowing an indescribable peace to fill the heart. How often do we try to solve everything alone, battling the tides of life, only to realize that some things are beyond our control? Surrendering to God is not giving up, but trusting in a force greater than ourselves, one that works in our favor even when we don't understand. The Bible speaks about this peace in Philippians 4:7, a peace that surpasses all understanding and guards the heart amid storms. Interestingly, this surrender also generates strength. When we free ourselves from the need to control everything, we find new energy and a renewed confidence. Imagine a boat that, instead of fighting against the current, chooses to navigate with it. Life becomes less exhausting and lighter because this trust reminds us that we are not alone, that there is a hand guiding the way. Those who live with this surrender face difficulties with heads held high, knowing that their strength comes from God and that He is in command of every situation. And so those who experience this peace and strength realize that surrendering to God is the true path to finding balance. It is the answer to the anxieties that persistently steal our peace. Every day, such a person discovers the incomparable relief of leaving in God's hands what they cannot control. And this surrender is a continuous journey, an invitation to live with more lightness and trust. Perhaps it is time to discover how this surrender can transform the way we live, especially when we think about how faith shapes and strengthens our path. The Bible is full of stories where the unshakable faith of some resulted in miracles that completely changed their lives and inspired generations. Daniel, for example, faced a life or death situation when he was thrown into the lion's den for not denying his faith. There, where anyone else would see the end, Daniel found divine protection. God closed the mouths of the lions, showing that faith can transform even the most frightening moments into testimonies of divine power. These stories remind us that when faith is strong, the impossible becomes possible. Another transformative example is that of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who refused to worship the golden statue of King Nebuchadnezzar. Instead, they trusted in God, even when they were thrown into a fiery furnace. But the miracle happened. They came out unharmed, without even the smell of smoke on their clothes. It's a powerful reminder that in the hottest situations in life, faith is the shield that protects us, and God's presence is a constant companion. These miracles not only impacted their lives, but also transformed those around them who witnessed the strength of their faith. These examples show us that faith not only brings miracles, but also reveals God's power and love in a unique way. Those inspired by these stories begin to see challenges as opportunities to experience something beyond the ordinary, as a chance to see God's direct action. And perhaps this is the inspiration we all need, an invitation to believe that the same God who performed miracles in the past is ready to act today, turning difficulties into victories and impossibilities into realities. Dachshunds, strengthening faith is not an automatic process. It requires dedication and practices that bring us closer to God. One of these practices is prayer, a direct channel with the Creator that renews and strengthens the spirit. Prayer doesn't have to be formal but sincere, like a conversation between friends. In the Bible, Jesus teaches his disciples to pray with simplicity and depth, showing that prayer is a powerful tool to renew faith, bringing peace and clarity even in the most challenging situations. In addition to prayer, reading and meditating on God's Word are essential for nurturing faith. Passages like Psalm 91, which speaks of divine protection, or Isaiah 41:10, which encourages us not to fear, are constant reminders of God's care and love. The practice of reading the Bible daily allows a person to deepen their knowledge of who God is and how He acts. It's like nourishing the soul with nutrients that strengthen and expand confidence, allowing faith to grow healthily and solidly. Being part of a faith community is also an important pillar for strengthening faith. The fellowship with others who share the same values and beliefs inspires and encourages. In church, in study groups, or even in conversations with friends who share the same faith, people find support and grow together. These moments are opportunities to learn, share experiences, and feel God's presence in each testimony. Perhaps now is the time to explore these practices and see how they can make a difference in your spiritual journey. God's promises are like anchors for the soul, offering comfort and hope amid life's uncertainties. In times of difficulty, they are reminders of God's care and faithfulness to those who trust in Him. When Paul writes in Philippians 4:19 that, "My God will supply all your needs," he shows us that God does not abandon His people, but takes care of every detail. This promise brings a comfort that calms the heart and renews the strength to face any situation, knowing that divine provision is certain. These promises also offer security amid fear and anxiety, as we see in Isaiah 41:10. "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God." Words like these reinforce the certainty that we are not alone, even in adversity. It's like having a loving Father whose constant presence calms and strengthens. Those who hold on to these promises find a safe haven, a place of refuge where fear no longer has as much power. And beyond comforting, God's promises inspire us to live with hope, to believe that the future can bring something good, even when the present seems bleak. They are a silent force, sustaining faith and renewing the vision of a better tomorrow. Perhaps this is the key to facing challenges with confidence, remembering the promises, keeping them in our hearts, and living each day with the hope that God always fulfills what He promises. So perhaps the next step is to discover the power of living on these promises, allowing them to transform the way we see the world. Faith does not just transform the life of the one who possesses it. Its impact goes far beyond, reaching communities and even entire societies. People guided by faith in God are moved by values such as love, compassion, and justice, which inevitably leave marks on those around them. Think of people like Martin Luther King Jr., whose faith and convictions inspired a fight for equality and justice. His faith didn't just change his own life, but also inspired a nation to rethink its values. This is the kind of influence that active faith can generate. Moreover, faith encourages actions that bring healing and hope to those who need it most. In everyday life, this can be translated into simple acts like lending a hand to someone in need or taking the time to listen to someone going through difficulties. The Bible is full of examples of people who, through faith, made a difference in the lives of others, like the apostles, who spread the love and teachings of Jesus, transforming entire communities. Thus, those who live by faith do not only seek their own peace, but also become instruments of peace in the world. This impact of faith reveals the power it has to inspire positive changes wherever it goes. It's like a light that shines, offering a vision of hope to everyone around. And perhaps this is an invitation to realize that faith can go far beyond personal benefit, being a force that inspires, transforms, and does good wherever it is cultivated. Maybe the next step is to discover how this faith can create an even greater impact around you, bringing light to those who need it most. Shirtin, being light and salt in the world is one of the deepest missions that faith in God inspires us to live. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus called his followers to be light and salt, meaning to illuminate and bring flavor to the world. The light not only illuminates the path, but also dispels darkness, bringing clarity and security. When someone acts with honesty, kindness, and compassion, That person is illuminating those around them, showing a better path and reminding them that there is still goodness in the world. It's the kind of influence that doesn't need words, just genuine actions. Like light, salt is also essential because it preserves and gives flavor. Similarly, being salt implies preserving values, living according to principles that prevent the world from falling into chaos and indifference. Those who live as salt of the earth bring to their environments an attitude of integrity and constructiveness, making a difference in small actions. Imagine a professional who, instead of competing unfairly, chooses ethics and respect. They transform the workplace, making it healthier and more respectful. Small actions like these leave lasting marks. This call to be light and salt is not just a suggestion, but a responsibility that every Christian carries. It is to live in a way that inspires others to seek something greater, to find hope, and to want to be part of this transformation. Perhaps this call is inviting each one to see how their daily actions can illuminate the path for those around them and bring a different flavor to the world. And who knows, by understanding this responsibility, it may be possible to see a new purpose in faith itself, a mission that turns the ordinary into something extraordinary. True faith is not something confined to the heart. It manifests itself in actions that transform the environment and the lives of those around. It is like a flame that, once lit, illuminates and warms everything it touches. When someone lives their faith actively, it is reflected in their care for others, commitment to truth, and desire to do good. Think of people who, driven by faith, devote themselves to volunteer work, help those in need, and become advocates for justice. Each of these actions is a living proof of the transformative power of faith in action. This faith in motion also transforms the one who practices it, as living according to divine principles allows a person to experience a greater purpose and the peace that comes from living with integrity. A clear example of this is the parable of the Good Samaritan, where Jesus shows that true faith is compassionate and willing to help others, even if it requires sacrifice. This is the essence of a faith that is not passive but active, inspiring and moving each person to go beyond their own needs. And this active faith not only creates change around us, but also deeply impacts one's spiritual journey. Those who dedicate themselves to living this way discover that the more they give, the more they feel strengthened and connected to God. This is the great secret of active faith. By transforming the lives of others, it ends up transforming the one who practices it. Perhaps now is the time to explore what it means to live this faith in action, letting it be a living force, a positive influence, and a way to make a difference in the world. Faith is not something static. It grows and deepens as it is cultivated. Spiritual practices such as prayer, Bible study, and meditation are like nutrients that strengthen and mature this faith. Every time a person dedicates themselves to these practices, it's like watering a plant, allowing its roots to grow deeper. The Bible, especially, is an invaluable source of wisdom. Passages like Psalm 119:105, which says, "Your word is a lamp for my feet," show that God's word is a sure guide and foundation for each step in the spiritual journey. Beyond study and prayer, meditation on God's word allows for a more intimate connection with what He is communicating. It's not just reading, but deeply reflecting and applying these teachings to daily life. Imagine a person reading Psalm 23 in the morning, reflecting on how God is the shepherd who cares for every detail. Throughout the day, this reflection brings peace, changing how they face challenges and respond to difficulties. This type of meditation helps to turn understanding into practical living, reinforcing faith in each situation. And alongside these individual practices, fellowship with a faith community provides even more growth. The exchange of experiences and mutual support strengthen confidence and broaden each person's view of God's work. Those who practice faith in this continuous and profound way discover that spiritual growth is a dynamic and rewarding process. Perhaps this is the key to a faith that not only withstands challenges, but thrives in the face of them, growing stronger day by day. The path of faith requires commitment and a good dose of persistence, because this journey is not always easy and obstacle-free. Staying firm in faith is like cultivating a plant that, to grow and bear fruit, needs constant attention. And often when difficulties arise, the temptation to give up is great. But this is where commitment comes in. It is the force that keeps the heart focused, remembering that challenges are part of the growth process. Just as an athlete needs discipline to reach their best form, those who walk in faith need dedication to mature spiritually. Persistence, in turn, is what allows faith to become stronger over time. Moments of discouragement, doubts, and even failures may come, but it is the ability to persevere that differentiates those who truly trust in God. Think of Job, who, even in the face of loss and suffering, remained steadfast in his faith and in the end saw his life restored and blessed. This story teaches us that persistence in faith is not in vain. It bears fruit and brings rewards that only those who remain can experience. This commitment and persistence also shape character and strengthen trust in God. With each challenge overcome, faith is renewed, creating a solid foundation to face whatever comes next. Those who live this way discover that persistence in faith not only transforms the present, but also prepares them for the future. Perhaps this is an opportunity to reflect on what it truly means to commit and dedicate oneself, staying firm even when circumstances say otherwise. After all, this is the essence of faith that grows and deepens day by day. God's promises have a transformative power that goes beyond visible circumstances. When someone deeply believes in divine promises, this faith can change the way they face life. Each promise is like a seed of hope planted in the heart, generating an unwavering confidence. Passages like Jeremiah 29:11, where God declares plans of peace and hope for the future, offer this secure foundation. The person who believes in these words learns to see life with optimism, knowing that despite the difficulties, something grand is being prepared. These promises not only comfort, but also strengthen. When someone faces a challenge, remembering God's promises brings new energy and willingness to fight. Imagine a mother facing financial difficulties who places her faith in God, believing in the promise that He will meet all her needs. This faith not only comforts her, but gives her the strength to persevere, work, and stay firm, waiting for God's provision. It is this unshakable trust that turns what would be a burden into a path of learning and growth. And the most beautiful part is that by trusting in these promises, a person experiences peace that transcends understanding, a certainty that goes beyond human logic. This active faith is what allows someone to remain at peace, even amid storms, knowing that God is in control. Perhaps now is the time to dive even deeper into these promises, allowing them to transform the way we see the world and inspire a faith that is not shaken by difficulties, but grows and flourishes even in the most challenging moments. True faith always invites action, a concrete step toward what is believed. It's not enough just to believe. You must live this belief, letting it guide every choice and every action. Fully trusting in God means letting go of personal insecurities and following the direction He points, even when the path seems uncertain. It's like Peter, who, upon seeing Jesus walking on water, had the courage to step out of the boat and go to Him. This is the call of faith, a trust that inspires us to leave our comfort zone and take risks, believing that God does not fail. This complete trust also means letting go of fear, placing every detail of life in God's hands. Those who commit to trusting wholeheartedly discover a new freedom, a life not driven by circumstances, but by the certainty of divine care. Imagine someone facing a big decision who chooses not to worry, but to pray and wait for God's guidance. This surrender brings a peace that the world cannot offer, and this peace becomes a compass, guiding and calming with each step. This call is an invitation to live intensely and fully, a life where faith turns into action and where trust in God opens doors and reveals possibilities that once seemed impossible. Perhaps now is the time to accept this call and allow this active and vibrant faith to transform the way you live. Who knows, by responding to this invitation, you may find not only a new perspective, but a renewed strength to face each challenge and live with purpose. Dear Lord, may each step of this journey of faith help us grow and transform as we draw closer to you. Give us the strength to keep trusting amid difficulties, the wisdom to discern your will, and the open heart to listen to you. May each challenge we face serve to strengthen our faith and teach us more about your love and care. In times of uncertainty, may we remember your promises and your faithfulness, knowing that in you we find peace and purpose. We invite everyone to dive into this journey of faith, experiencing the transformative power God offers. Perhaps you've already felt the call to trust more, to live a life guided by the certainty that there is a greater purpose for everything. Accepting this invitation means opening up to an experience that not only changes you internally, but also impacts those around you. True faith is not mere consolation. It is a force that shapes, directs, and brings meaning to every aspect of life. May this experience be a journey of constant growth and connection with God. Allow yourself to live a faith that transforms, gives hope, and offers a renewed vision of what it means to live with purpose. Let this faith guide your actions, inspire your words, and bring light to your path. Perhaps now is the time to accept the invitation to this new phase, a phase of surrender, trust, and transformation. And may you find on this journey everything your heart seeks. And now, what will you do with everything you've discovered today? Faith in God is not just a distant belief, it's a living force, ready to transform your life if you're willing to take that step. How about starting to apply what you've learned? What would your life be like if, instead of trying to face everything alone, you could trust in a greater power that gives purpose and direction? Each challenge would be an opportunity, each difficulty a moment to grow and mature spiritually. And now the invitation is simple. Allow yourself to live this experience of faith. Open yourself up to a transformed life. This journey may be what you need to achieve the peace and purpose you've always sought. Want to keep learning about how faith can impact every area of your life? Then subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss any content that strengthens your faith and brings your heart closer to God. Shall we go together on this journey of spiritual growth and transformation?